I went. Two girls were born on the same day. I was with Aunt Gertrude one time, and this girl who I went to school with says something about my mother, and I said, she isn't my mother, she's my aunt. And Aunt Gertrude always had Robert and Hill on every, she even babysat for me, you know, I do. Hi, Larry. Well, she couldn't do, and she didn't talk to me.
Jumped out of the car and trotted down the tavern and had a beer with me. And then she just gulped this beer down. She goes, I said, what are you doing? She says, I can't, I gotta get back. She goes, boy, she's mad as a hornet. And she goes, I can off this advice. We'll see this one out.
She lived to be the oldest of any of them, didn't she? Daddy was 88.
In our generation, he's really almost 97.
Yeah,
Actually, I have 12 grandchildren. I have 8. His one boy has 5.
You'd die if this Cadillac is ours and they'll charge us double.
But I've been worried a lot of my grandchildren.
Have you heard anything about Nita, or did you ever keep in touch with her?
There was always red on. You didn't have to wait.
Oh,
too darn mean to go any sooner.
They only had one single flight.
That was nice of you to invite the Knowles. I was glad to see Dickie. All my skinny friends are dead.
I'm gonna go tell Marie and Benny what I said about him.
They ain't skinny.
I know.
That's why Jean likes to go home at night.
Ron couldn't be here. Ron Knoll.
Sure is.
Grandmother. Did Dawn call you? Dawn Renee, did she call you?
No,
Not yet?
she probably will.
Okay. The first one didn't work out, so she got another one. This is Nancy's kid, Doug, and that's Bert's kid, Don, next to my sister Roberta. My brother Tom on the end, and his wife Linda. What a sweetie. And Brian, that young gentleman there in the short sleeve striped shirt that looks like he plays for the Green Bay Packers, is the fellow that did my dad's funeral service. It was his first such service. And Brian, if I live to be 100, which is highly doubtful, I'll never hear anything as fine as that. I know it came from the heart and from somebody upstairs putting the words in your mouth, but fantastic. And Billy Joe, who probably won't be a preacher if I know anything about kids. So. And your name again, ma'am? Oh, yeah. This is our honoree, of course.
I'm your mom.
My dear, sweet mom, my Aunt Mabel, and she's getting up in her 60s now too. Is it? Rick, who seems to have gotten quite a bit taller from when I left Grand Island because his head was below his hairline. But and these silver-haired phonies over here at the end of the table are the Knowles, and they're the parents of one of my best friends in high school, Ron Knoll, who was the high school quarterback and a great athlete, now a dentist out in Colorado. And I saw him at the viewing of my dad's funeral. And have you ever seen one of these movies where they start out with young actors, but at the end of the movie, and these are the older ones that makeup wasn't too good, and they're supposed to be 70 years old or whatever, but you can really tell it's a 30-year-old who's made up to look like 70. That's what I think they're doing. They could take off the makeup. Well, you're too much, you know. And this is there's another birthday that we're celebrating tonight, and I'm very thankful that she probably took time from some of her own family celebrations to join us. But this is my mom's cousin, Patty, and Harry Stalker. And she and Mom, every year they have the same birthday. Isn't that strange?
It's Alda's birthday.
How much older are you than Mom? You don't want to say. Okay, gotcha. At the end of this table are my dear friends, Dick and Barb Gillum.
Tell them about how her husband introduced me to Bill, and Bill introduced him to her, and they got to be. Is that what you're telling?
Who's doing this? I'm talking about Dick Gillum and Barb.
Bill, did you?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
You should bring me your trunk.
A little bit.
Okay. And
Yes. Thank you. That was
this is.
forever.
Hey, that's pretty neat. I don't mean I met you that way. Welcome to the family. Love you. Yes. Okay. This is Greg Merring. He's another friend that goes way back. Greg, special guy to me. He and I see each other every year in Indianapolis at 500. And we have a lot in common with love of that particular race. Greg's brother Tom. Greg's mother, I can't believe you're his mother.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I mean,
Oh, you're so
it's not that you don't look old enough, but I just can't believe anybody's this guy's and then there's Elmer, the proud father of these two brats. Now, at least one of them, right? You travel in it? In those days. Okay. Is it Benny or Bernice now?
My name is Bernice.
Hmm? No, what's his name?
Bernice, fine. The way I sign my checks. I sign my checks, Bernice.
Bernice.
Let's call her Benny. But we call her Benny Cole.
Yeah, Benny's easier to spell.
Okay.
And one of my mom's, well, these are both one of my mom's youngest and dearest friends, Marie Shanks on the end. And then Larry Molczyk, my cousin. One step removed, actually his mother is my cousin. How's your mom doing, Larry?
I think she's probably home sewing tonight. She's got a vest to make for my daughter's birthday.
So great, now you all know each other, and oh, Julie.
I'm the one that doesn't belong to the family. I'm adopted.
My adopted daughter, Julie.
I never looked like anybody else.
Yeah, you did.
I'm in the family.
When you came here tonight, we were going to do a little thing like, this is your life, Catherine Humphrey Shaver. And I figured it would take too long because what we were going to do was have you stand outside and say, you know, like in Dick's case, say something about, I threw June bugs on you one time, and you say, oh, that must be Norman Holverson. Brother. and sisters and I thought up the idea of having a little quiz for Mom, and that's why we ask you each to write some rather personal thing that she might be familiar with, and we're going to test her memory because, well, quite frankly, Dr. Canella suspects the early stages of not AIDS.
Alzheimer's?
Well, see, I got a little confused there because Dr. Canella was telling me that Mom had gone in for a physical not too long ago. You know, I've lost 19,000 damn trousers. They're just about to fall. I want to catch this one. Anyway, getting back to my true story about my mother, she was in for a physical recently because we were all worried about her, you know, after Dad left or whatever. And so Dr. Canella doesn't know Mom that well. She's got a new patient. And so I called from Tampa and I said, my mom's new boyfriend, we just called him, because I didn't want to think that I was meddling in my mother's affairs. So I said, this is Catherine Shaver's new boyfriend. I have two patients with identical names, both Catherine Shaver. And he says, one, the diagnosis was AIDS, and the other was Alzheimer's disease. And I had to keep up the pretense. I'd already told him I was a boyfriend. I said, my God, what do I do, doctor? He said, well, when she comes home, send her out for a walk. And if she comes back, don't sleep with her. True story.
It is.
But,
Come around sometime, I'll tell you that story.
each one of these is supposed to be some personal, intimate, or both, fact from friends and family here in the room. Each one that you identify correctly, Mr. Noel's going to give you $1.
I wondered why we invited you.
I'll give you $1 if you take credit cards.
Okay.
If you identify a sufficient number, like I know what the passing grade is, you will be given a one-time 3-second opportunity for our grand prize of $10,000.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
Put her in that little thing back there, so it looks like
One more peek.
One more piece.
In 4th grade, when I got bit on my head by the German Shepherd, I wanted to stay with my grandmother more than anyone because she'd take good care of me. Love you.
That's my little Douglas Randall.
In 19 saved my life. They saved my life.
Was that Rickus?
Was that who?
Ricky?
Well, that was when you killed the shitty dog. No, it was somebody else.
Does she get a second choice?
Does she give a second choice?
You don't
Okay.
remember going up to the
Doug.
hospital?
Yes, sir.
Okay, tell her who it was. It was Alice.
It was Alice.
Remember that grandmother?
Oh, I forgot. I went in there and she was about dead, and we went and got the nurse, didn't we?
That's right.
That's right, I couldn't.
She just. He won't throw June bugs at you ever again. That's a promise. He remembers the trip to Chicago as the most memorable time. We both have good memories. Well, your handwriting is atrocious.
Don't tell who wrote it.
You did. Very good. You know, Mangelson got me in trouble in there one time. The one that taught journalism over at the high school. I was selling ads for the Purple and Gold, and this teacher was the faculty sponsor. And I had this ad book, and I had to turn these receipts in to Miss whoever she was. I never do remember names of people I hated. And I turned these receipts in and I had to check them, and Mangleton had wrote, so they had gone through on a carbon paper, I'd like to F-word a girl cow, and I got blamed for it. And, incidentally, I understand Moose died not long ago, is that right?
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
Was it Miss Gallantly? Miss Gallantly? Miss Gallantly?
Yeah, it was.
That's her, and I still hate bitch. So, anyway, thanks for coming.
And do you know who that was that wrote that, Mother?
Well, sure.
The June bugs, he gave it away from the very beginning.
Threw the bugs at me. I went out the back door and he was standing there with these June bugs and yeah, he was going to throw them on Billy and I went out the door and they threw them on me. Do you remember you and Bill trying to kill that frog that was in the tip?
Since you did get that one right, this is what a correct answer sounds like. If you're incorrect, you'll hear this.
The alligator pit.
My shrink gave me this, he sent it to me. Okay, how well I remember in the spring of 1952 at the GI track relays when our son Ron and Bill were members of the 2-mile relay team for GI, and when they took off their sweats, they did not have any shorts on. Oh, they did not have the traditional purple and gold shorts. Instead, Bill supplied them all with some really wild shorts of all colors.
Polka dots.
Like we have seen Lawrence's face, they won the relay race and did not get expelled, but warned. I have more fond memories of Bill and Ron and also Dick Gillum and others. We had good times together, Mrs. Knoll. We sure did. Mr. Knoll taught me to box. Well, actually taught Ronnie to box, using me as a way to go, Bill. Now, you know, he taught me a different defense than he taught Ronnie. Kathy, remember when you had the store on 7th? Did you get that one right?
On 6.
What did you say? You remember whose parents Ron Knoll belongs to? We'll give it. Kathy, remember when you had, that's not one of us kids, because we don't call you Kathy, we're not allowed to.
I do.
Treasure and food too. During the 30s, some people weren't eating too good. You and Bill helped everyone that asked for it.
I think that was Delmore.
Kathy Ream also enjoyed the dinner and breakfast.
Marie.
Hey!
We had a wiener roast and ate ice cream, and our folks thought
A
we were
wiener
crazy.
roast.
Did I say bingo?
Yeah, that was Julie.
I was going to do the other thing here and then cry real loud, but I didn't think anybody appreciated it.
You played a Monopoly at the time. Take a crack at myself. I always carried a purse and hopped when I stopped. Greg?
Go ahead and hit it. He doesn't have defense.
That was Berta.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Greg said what color purse? You get credit. You and I are the last of the survivors of our breakfast club of many years, and we still keep it up and we'll hang in there to the end.
That is Benny Cole.
Yeah.
If one of you... Oh, you're all old enough to... We fell in a doll buggy.
Patty and I.
His name.
Well, I was babysitting her, and we were at Aunt Gertrude and Aunt Blanche's home, and I was taking her down the steps. They had a real long stairway, and I was carrying her down. I missed the top step, and we rolled clear down to the baby buggy, doll buggy, landed in it.
I hadn't heard that one. I'd heard the one about the back seat of the 37. I'll bet you still think I burned up all those pictures, but Bert really did it. Not. Not.
Hi, Tom.
I'm the scissor grandson, and that you could tell. Well, that reminded me of something. Any you ever hear of that movie, Edward Scissorhands?
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, the guy that had, instead of fingers, he had these, like, lawn shears and stuff like that. Did you ever wonder how he took a leak? Good friends. I'm the scissor grandson. Not that you could tell by my hair, but you should see my race car bedspread.
I didn't hear that one. Don't
Does
miss.
read this slowly at a normal voice. We have this service for.
He can't, he hasn't
Read it.
learned.
He doesn't know how to read.
I'm the scissor grandson.
I'm the scissor grandson.
Not that you could tell
Not that you could tell
by my hair,
by my hair,
but you should see my race car bedspread.
but you should see my race car bedspread.
That reminds me of that ladder joke.
Scar bedspreads and everything was little race cars. I go in there and there's Ricky with a pair of scissors cutting the race cars out of his bedspread.
I did the rock.
They wouldn't know what happened.
I know, but now you just. This is another card. I couldn't twirl real well, but I swung a mean baton.
With my
Yeah.
baton.
Yeah.
I might have. I peed in your mother-in-law's pocket. I wee-weed in your mother-in-law's pocket.
Billy.
What?
Billy did that too.
Knowingly?
Your grandma Shaver.
This is either when I was this is either when I was a real little baby or when I was drinking alcoholic. Which was it? Okay, how'd she do? Did she get them all right? Seems like almost.
Bill, I'd like to say she remembers one time when we went to a show and an animal came up on the stage. She was the first one out of the theater.
She was that scared? She thought it was a real
They
animal.
had a gorilla and it rode a bicycle and everything and it started all the steps. I was the first one out there.
Mama, real gorillas don't ride bicycles, honey.
Just came
Maybe she was drinking.
This was,
But I wasn't old enough to drink then.
was this Tuesday?
Oh, that matters.
Okay, now, she got them all right, I think, or close enough.
She didn't
to-
get Alice.
And some of them were just practically illegible. Translated properly, but, okay, Mom, now for $10,000.
1, 2, 3.
And not only that, but... Okay, let's hear it for Catherine. And kind of in my sloth period, I was sitting there and going, all right, what should I do today? Not much. Good, I'll join you. And so I got to thinking, you know, I was back here in January and I delivered a eulogy at my father's funeral. And kind of kicking myself in the butt that I never said some of the things to him when he was alive and would have appreciated it that I said that day over at the chapel at Getty Funeral Home. And I decided that wasn't going to happen in the case of my mom, unless she had died of a heart attack tonight when I walked in the room, and then I might have had to. But I wanted to tell her while she's still alive how great she is, how much I love her. And I think I told my dad those things, but there were some things I didn't. Like, it was only a couple of years ago that I told my mom that I owe a special debt of gratitude for her because she's the one that taught me to love, appreciate, understand, and use, I hope use, the English language correctly. And she said, Billy, I wish you'd have told me that a long time ago because I never knew that. And that's the truth. You know, I learned more from my mama concerning grammar, syntax, spelling than I ever did from any teacher. And you were the greatest mom, and you still are, and I love you.
Thank you.
And a retired Marine. And it's been 40 years since I spent a birthday with my mom where I could personally kiss her and wish her a happy birthday instead of doing it long distance. Although 2 hours ago I called her from Doug's house down the way here, and she thought I was calling from Tampa, so she thought I was keeping my string intact. And I won't say the word you used when you thought I wasn't coming, because you'd be sorry if I said that after all the nice things I've done for you tonight. In the course of this evening, and it won't be a long evening, but I hope it'll be an interesting evening for you, because I worked, and my brother and my sisters worked very, very hard to put this thing together. And I appreciate each of you coming here tonight on very, very short notice, because I know some of you, and most of you probably had plans that you graciously interrupted to help my mom celebrate her 80th birthday. You're going to hear something about my dad tonight, and you're going to say, yeah, he's gone, wants to leave him gone. Well, that's kind of hard to do for this reason. We don't dwell on him, but you know, this gal and that guy were inseparable for over 60 years, and it'd be kind of like trying to separate salt and pepper, ham and eggs, or Dowds and good food. You know, they just go together. So you'll be hearing things about my dad, and the finale of this evening's program is really a tribute to my old man, and I hope you'll enjoy the rest of the evening. This is an administrative announcement. I'm getting the tab tonight. I'm picking up the tab for everybody here, and this is to save you ladies the trouble of going around saying, yeah, and your share is $4.62 minus the egg that she ate, and you had her potato, so that goes here. You just come see me, and I've got a plastic card that if you don't catch it, you know, it ought to fly at least for the night. If any of you feel the evening was worthwhile and you want to help me defray my bankruptcy costs, you know, this really wouldn't have been that expensive a trip, except I was telling someone earlier, the State Highway Patrol in northern Florida was not sympathetic when I told them that I was preoccupied planning an 80th birthday party show for my mother in Nebraska. And this cop looked at me and wrote me a ticket. And I told Dick Gillum that this ticket is going to cost me $149.50. And this ain't a joke. 78 in a 55-mile zone, that's pretty good. And it was a construction zone to boot.
They surely should drive.
I think it would have only been about $60, except I didn't know how good that fellow's hearing is, and I think he heard me use the word asshole when he was on the way back to the car. And stuck about another $80 on there, so you know, I'll survive, and it was worth every penny of it to be here tonight. All my life, I've been pretty much a frustrated entertainer. I remember when I was a little boy, I thought, you know, TV would just come along about then. Actually, when I was not too little boy, but you know, I'd been to circuses and stuff, and I always admired jugglers. And I thought I wanted to be a juggler, and then I found out I just wasn't comfortable with more than 2 balls. So I was doing quite well, and I auditioned in Wheels. And, lessons. When I don't even like to remember that phase, because you know, Lawrence Welk and me, you know, maybe you think so, but I don't. I'm a little more suave than that. And oh yeah, Buck and me just aren't a match anyway, whether you think so or not. Can't you see Lawrence doing these jokes? Our accordion instructor was Irving Ostroff. There aren't any Ostroffs in this room, are there?
I don't know. I have to look on my
No one's married to an Ostroff.
I think I was married to one.
Anyway, Irving was a new father, and his wife was a new mother. And Mrs. Irving Ostroff liked to breastfeed the baby at our accordion practices. And I was an impressionable young teenager about Billy Joe's age. How old are you, Billy Joe?
14.
14. Yeah, maybe a year or two younger than you. And you know, I can't tell you that day what his wife's face looked like, or even if she had a face. And I never did learn to play that accordion. Nancy got pretty good at it because, well, I guess she still is heterosexual, so. I finally found that maybe my talent lay in comedy, and that came about through a very unusual situation. Dick would remember this, and so would the Knowles, but Nancy and I, in addition to playing the accordion, which very few people knew about, we were publicly put on exhibition countless times purporting to be tap dancers. And, you know, when I was trying to be an athlete in high school, and I was small to begin with, and then I was out clicking my toes and heels like Sammy Davis Jr. with two eyes. And
It's a pale face.
And yeah, that too. You know, it was really tough to measure up in school, and I took a lot of razzing about it. Well then, and I hope Dick didn't know about this, but my dance teacher, my tap teacher, decided it would be good for our agility, for our coordination, for our flexibility, if we were to add, I can't even say the word,
Ballet.
ballet.
Well, I had to pick. I want to tell you about that deal. You went to take your ballet dancing and acrobatic dancing, and I was paying the bill, and the Milne girls wanted to go early every morning when you did it to see those kids act up.
What kids?
The Shavers.
As in Bill and Nancy.
Here, Mom.
Why didn't you go with your mom home?
Okay, well, anyway, that was the truth, but these kids used to come and say, boy, that Billy Shaver really is funny, and I wasn't supposed to be being funny, you know, at about, what, $10 an hour or something like that, to Lucy Lindstrom. And I forget who the fruitcake was that taught me ballet, but anyway, you know, one thing about comedy is you don't always have to have a great deal of talent to pull something off and make scads and scads of money. I'm sure most of you remember the Ed Sullivan Show many years ago, and the guy's name has kind of disappeared in the fog of history. But he always hummed a song that I know is Fine and Dandy. And he didn't exactly hum it, but he made sounds, and it was something like this. And he was a magician. He did these magic acts. And he must have made millions of dollars, or maybe back in those days, hundreds of thousands, with some very stupid tricks. And one of them, as I recall, went something like this. Da 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 da, and that was it. And I bet I saw him on Ed Sullivan. Did you ever see him? You know the guy I'm talking about? Megan is that. But But it's not because you're not old enough, you're just not memorable. You know, my mom, here, Mom, keep your mouth shut this time. I wanted to do a comedy act tonight that would have, I mean, I've used a few, maybe bad words, a few risque references, and I'm sorry, I apologize to those of you that it offends. And especially you, Mom, because, you know, never likes to ruffle any feathers. And a pig's butt, she got. She had this former friend one time that they had a falling out, and Mom says, she heard from the gal that this woman was moving to Kansas. And Mom called her up, and this woman says, I won't have to put up with you much longer, Catherine Shaver. I'm moving to Kansas. And Mom says, well, I'm glad that you're moving from Nebraska to Kansas, because that's going to raise the average IQ of both states. Did you say that?
Yeah.
Care to tell us who it was about?
No comment.
I want to get back to Nebraska. Oh, excuse me. And everybody, like a talent act thing, everybody was going to do their thing for the junior officers and their wives, and then at some later date, the junior officers were going to reciprocate. Reciprocate? Is that the correct word? Then do it back at us, that's what I mean. I was a battalion commander, and I think my nickname might have been the Intimidator. And I had the biggest battalion in the Marine Corps, and although I don't take myself too seriously, I took my job very seriously, and I think I probably might have been accused of having a serious demeanor most of the time, especially when I was holding punishment on people. And I thought I'd worked up a really good act, and until I got over the Officers Club, I was well rehearsed, I was cool, calm, and collected, and the first two guys that saw the program walked up to me and said, you doing a comedy act? And I didn't want the laughs before I got on stage. And so, I don't know, but I told my mom that she had heard this act on their 50th wedding anniversary. I came back to Grand Island and I performed this same thing. Hastens my dad's death by probably 5 years, but Mom said, well, Billy, she says, you know, that thing you're going to do tonight, I talked to her over dinner, and she knows, again, she just doesn't want to upset anybody. And she made me promise there were 3 types of jokes that I wouldn't do. And the first was, I can't do any racist jokes. So that means that I can't tell you about the black guy that walked in a bar with a parrot on his shoulder, and the bartender says, hey, cool, where'd you get him? And the parrot says, Africa. Okay, Delmer. Oh, black guy goes in a bar, he's got a parrot on his shoulder, the bartender says, cool, where'd you get him? And the parrot says, Africa. Now you try it. And then Mom said also that I couldn't do any sexist jokes, so I can't tell you about the time I was stationed up at headquarters Marine Corps, and my good-looking young secretary came in and says, sir, I think it's only fair to tell you I found a new position. And I said, good, lock the door and we'll try it.
Now we know how to do it.
And she also, because that corner over there is, no offense, you know, I certainly joke. So I promised her I wouldn't tell the one about the 2 preachers that were talking about the decline in the morals in the younger generation. And one fellow says, why, you know, it's just awful what's going on out there today. He says, why, I never slept with my wife before I was married. Did you? The other guy says, well, I don't know. What was her maiden name? I think that's enough of the jokes, Mom.
Okay.
I mean, they think it's enough of the jokes. But, I did want to do something kind of special. When I was a little boy, my Grandpa Shaver, my dad's dad, who was one of my two favorite grandfathers, incidentally, told me that you'll upstage somebody every time. Won't you?
Get your guitar, Dad.
Anyway, getting back to my so rudely interrupted story. Good riddance.
Bye, Doug. Well, let's go. Doug's leaving.
By the way, we're born on the same day. That doesn't make me
My Grandpa Shaver, when I was a real little boy, read me a poem that became my favorite poem, and it was by a gentleman named Oliver Wendell Holmes. And I know Aunt Mabel's heard of this poem, but it was called The Deacon's Masterpiece, and it was subtitled The Wonderful One-Horse Shay. Now, a shay is a horse-drawn buggy, and in this story of the wonderful one-horse shay, this deacon designed a buggy that would not wear out. He used the finest woods, the finest leathers, the finest metals, and it was designed and it was built so to specification and so perfectly that nothing would ever, as we experience with our new automobiles when the floor mats are gone in 2 weeks and stuff like that. Everything would wear evenly, and then according to the deacon's plan, at some future, far distant date, everything would wear out together. And I always kind of like that concept. What a neat way to go through life. You don't get arthritis, you don't get gray, you don't do this, you don't do that. You just look like brand new, and then suddenly at 75 or 100 years old, you fall apart in a pile of dust. And I went back to college and got my degree after I retired from the Marine Corps. And I found I had a real propensity for and love for English literature and for writing. And I asked one of my favorite professors if I could deviate from an assignment and write a parody of Mr. Holmes' poem. And my mother gave me some really valuable input that kind of changed my warped concept of what aging should be like. Because, Mom, and I mean this sincerely, I think you have aged and know how to age about as gracefully as any human being on this earth. And so I dedicate this poem tonight to you, and it went like this. I subtitled it An Aging Marine's Lament, and it's called On the Deacon's Masterpiece, with apologies to Oliver Wendell Holmes. I'm going to read just one paragraph, the opening paragraph of the one-horse shay, so you can get an idea of the cadence and the flavor of how Holmes put it, and I tried to imitate that cadence, that meter. Have you heard of the wonderful one-horse shay that was built in such a logical way? It ran 100 years to a day, and then of a sudden it, but stay. I'll tell you what happened without delay, scaring the parson into fits, frightening people out of their wits. Have you ever heard of that, I say? Well, mine starts out, the deacon's wonderful one-horse shay lasted a century to the day. How great I thought to be that way, no change from youth to judgment day. For a life like that I used to pray. Just part way there, I'm 51, but deterioration has begun. My sight is dimmed, my hair is turned gray. The aches and pains grow worse each day. 1935, the certificate read, white, male, alive. This nation was beginning to thrive, for the Great Depression was all but o'er, while we were yet some years from war. Labor unions were in the fore, and Will Rogers' voice is heard no more. Exciting times, as some folks say, when I first saw the light of day. Such an active little chap, I stayed not long in mother's lap. Strong arms, fast legs, a quick mind too. I never lacked for things to do. At 3, I started Grandpa's car. It jumped the curb. I got a scar. The perfect child was that no more. Scar followed scar, at least if they weren't, that shade couldn't look like new when all those 100 years were through. Some live their lives like that old shade. A days, a days, a days, a day. So how do they appreciate what lies beyond that pearly gate? They go clear to that final bell, never having sampled hell. But I, thank God, have tried it all. Through most of it, I've had a ball. Growing old gives me no cause to grieve, for death is the only alternative. So don't pity me, I ain't dead yet, just ridden hard and put away wet. I've learned to lose, win, cry, and laugh. And here's what I'd like for my epitaph. He died in bed at 81. Her jealous husband had a gun.
Yes.
Was that right?
Nice
That's
seeing you
right.
folks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for coming.
Love ya.
Happy birthday.
Not that much longer, but there's still some, in my opinion, some pretty neat things and something that we have to do for this lady. And I know I seem to be doing all the talking, and that's the way it's going to be the rest of the night, too, believe me.
Thank God Julie left.
Oh, I want to tell you what I want to do right
Let's talk
now.
about Julie.
What?
She got her mink stole the same way the minks do. She look pretty. It's a little warm for me.
Was born on May 4th, I got that one, 1914, in Grand Island, Nebraska. And she was born to George and Nancy Humphrey. Now, my mom was the youngest of 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls. I was going to say one of each sex to see if you were paying attention, but she can't hear back there. Hello? Okay. My mom didn't. My mom wasn't as fortunate as I was in that her mother died when she was only 7 years old, and she was raised by some lovely aunts and her father, of course. And the only Grandma Humphrey I ever knew was Grandpa Humphrey's second wife, Cora, a dear lady. And you know, I didn't know Nancy, but I was plenty satisfied with my Grandma Humphrey. I put together from some old family autographs a little sound and a little audio-visual show about my mom. And well, this rose is just up there to focus. That's kind of symbolic. That was my dad's favorite flower for giving her on occasions like birthdays, Mother's Day, makeup, anytime that flowers were appropriate. So if this thing all works, here we go on a little trip into Catherine Shaver's life.
Well, let's talk about the good old days. Come to think of it, as bad as we think they are, these will become the good old days for our children. That kind of September when life was slow and oh so mellow.
You're that lady?
Try to remember. And if you remember, then follow. Oh, why does it seem that the past is always better? We look back and we think the winters were warmer, the grass was greener, the skies were bluer, and smiles were bright.
Look at you, still pretty as a picture. Look at me, still crazy over you. Look at us, still believing in forever. If you wanna see how true love should be, then just look at her.
I think maybe I outsmarted myself. You know, horrendously high U.S. Postal Service charges are, so I figured, hey, I bring her gifts. I save a bundle on May Lady, but I don't know if the economics are going to work out that way or not. Now, I don't recall. This one I'm pretty sure is your birthday present. Now, if you don't mind, Mom, I'm going to unwrap them because have you ever watched a woman unwrap gifts? You'd think that she was going to save that paper forever and ever to use to send out more gifts. You know, they're careful they don't break any tape. They strip the tape off. You know, I give it this afternoon. And yet these ones that my wife and her and my sisters do so carefully eventually end up just like that one, only folded neatly in the garbage instead of wadded. Mom, these are some pictures of your great-grandkids on the East Coast, and you can look at those later, but they're extras that we had or you wouldn't have them now.
Thank you.
The picture that was the first slide in this series, and if this smells good, it's potpourri. If not, it's marijuana. But
Marijuana.
doesn't smell at all. But
That's all
yeah,
right.
it does. Okay.
That's what I got.
Enjoy it anyway. Let me know what way you enjoyed it.
Okay.
Okay. This was something very, very special. I wish I had made a slide of this, but I did not have the negative available at the time. And Sunday, when I got this idea, I went over to a place called CPI, 1 Hour Photo Service, and they said that they could make me about 50 slides overnight and have them ready for me. We pick up Tuesday, and I was going to fly up, and then I found out that unless you book 7 days in advance, you pay 2 arms and a leg to fly from Tampa to a remote, obscure, provincial location such as Omaha. And you know, the Omaha, I've heard of towns rolling up their sidewalks at night, but really I had to wait down by the curb last night because the airport wasn't open. How big is Omaha?
They won't let you.
500,000?
Yeah.
People, my daughter, people in their
Half a
sons,
million.
they would let us go down and over here.
In Tampa, we don't even close down for Hanukkah. Okay. Some of you who heard my dad's eulogy heard a passage in the thing over at the chapel that went like this, and it explains what this picture is. On the day before yesterday, following the family viewing of Dad's mortal remains, all of us were driving to one of his favorite restaurants for dinner. Suddenly, as we turned to the west, we observed a spectacular sunset. There was a brilliant vertical shaft of sunlight extending up from the setting sun, bisected by a single horizontal band of clouds, which was also lighted by the sun, making it appear that there was a gigantic cross in the sky. As we reflected on this absolutely breathtaking sight, my mom whispered, "Daddy's signaling us. I think he's saying thank you." Now, folks that had been absolutely completely overcast right up till maybe a half hour before this spectacular, what do you call them, Tommy, sundogs? People in Nebraska, I haven't been here too long to know, tell me that almost all the time they're not as spectacular as this, nor is the light from the setting sun a vertical shaft like this. It's usually diffused light extending out in rays in a V shape. This, as you can see, the perfectly vertical band in the center of the picture extends up through this crowd. Now, my wife and I, and this is probably using a great deal of imagination, but also something that I wouldn't call it eerie, I might call it miraculous, or I might call it good imagination. But if you look at this picture very closely, and I think you'll see as I point out to you, it appears here there might be an eye with an eyebrow, and looking over this cloud, the other eye is barely visible, another eyebrow, so the nose would lie someplace in here. But can any of you see what looks like might be a face looking over the darkest band of clouds? And I'll pass this around, and you tell me it's probably little clouds that look like faces, but until my dying day, I'm going to think that I witnessed something that, at least to me, and that's what spirituality is all about, was a very, very spiritual thing. And thank God that I was there to witness it, and to witness it again with people that know and love God. Today, you remember who my kindergarten teacher was?
Miss Shaver?
Miss Hayhurst. Is she still alive?
I'm not certain. She lives over at
Shelby.
Yeah. I don't know why I was thinking of her, but
I asked Mom about her too last night.
yeah, is that right?
You're
I'd like to look her up if she was. She was a
Miss
wonderful
Smith.
teacher.
She later was
I know,
Mrs.
but I was
Cunningham.
asking for Bill.
Yeah,
But,
I know it.
You know one thing I remember about Miss Hayhurst, I don't know even whether you even remember it, but didn't we make a silhouette in school one time? Whatever became of that?
You mean
Sit out, and you get credit for it when you get home because your mama thinks you made it. She knows damn well a little kid, 5-year-old, cannot cut an outline of his face perfectly and make it look prettier to boot. So, but Mom believed this, and I kicked around the house for years and years. What did you finally do?
We
with
probably
that?
have it in that box up
Yeah.
on the, where all of the treasures are.
Well, anyway, it's not in that box. You gave it to me about 15 years ago, and it was all tattered and torn. I mean, you really didn't take care of that stuff. And I was going to try to repair it and give it to you for Mother's Day, and I tried with poster paint trying to patch it up, and it looked like a 45-year or 55-year-old silhouette made on cheap construction paper that had been patched up with poster paint. So I retraced the thing on good poster board, and I made you a new one.
Oh, thank you.
And this is the original tag that was on that silhouette, written by Miss Hayhurst. It says,
Isn't that
Billy
darling?
Shaver. I'll always be Billy to my mama. Flat School, Kindergarten, A, 1941. Since, I didn't know how to spell or write then, and so she did all the writing, but I put a little inscription on the back of this one, and I'd like to read it to the guest here. It says, you can follow along if you still read. It says, Mother's Day, 1994. Mom, I made the original of this for you. Miss Hayhurst helped in kindergarten 43 years ago. It was a Mother's Day present then, so I thought I would revamp it for this year. Thanks again for everything you and Dad have done for me throughout my life. I love you so much. Your son, Billy.
Thank you. Isn't that lovely?
I want this back when you go.
Well,
That was really neat.
Billy Shaver.
Now I have to get the bigger one made of mine.
I'm going to take a break.
Get up there.
In case you're saying, Jesus, is this guy ever going to quit? He is.
Yeah.
And it's going to be very shortly. I've got about one more special thing that will take about 20 minutes. But I thought real briefly, did my brother or any of my sisters or any of you other guests care to just say something like, you're old fat or something like that. My mom.